I know what I'm capable of. And that big rack of hers that she showed off constantly, it's just, and that peanut butter skin with that big rack. Like, Jay, keep your distance.
Keep your distance. The Too Much Dip podcast. 2025. We made it, guys. I'm Dave. I'm going to host. I'm going to talk some sports. I'm going to toss the rock around. That's what we're going to start saying. We're going to try to incorporate more sports into the show. I don't know. What, Randy?
I don't know if I like the word spurts.
Spurts shouldn't be a word we use. Again, I'm Dave. How you doing? Happy to be back. Dylan's here, Mr. Podcast of 2025.
Oh, man. It's my year for podcasting. That's what people have been saying, especially after my circling back performance today. A lot of ball has happened since the last time I spoke to you gentlemen in front of microphones. Lots of ball happened, lots to talk about. Big games coming up, all the stuff. Ready to jump right the hell in.
That's what we call a tease. Because people don't know what big games is he referring to.
Lots of them.
Mavs Grizzlies tonight.
Yes.
No
Yeah.
Kyrie.
Can't believe it.
Can't believe it either. Producer Randy's here.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
I'm wearing a Bears sweatshirt.
Why do you turn into such a nerdy little 14-year-old when you just get back there?
I don't know. You just make me giddy.
Okay. Call me Josh.
I guess KJ didn't like that one.
KJ coming to us from Madison.
I prefer, never mind. There's no reason to make an underage joke. We'll have enough H talk today as we are confirmed. Wild.
Okay, not that giddy.
Wild hard. For the wild card weekend, it's back, ladies and gentlemen. Best time of the year.
People are wondering
No other
if we're
sports
gonna-
are occurring.
Nope. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's the focal point of the sports world. It's the epicenter.
Mhm.
The clip we played is from Jason Whitlock, noted media sports landscape personality. We have this FS1 talk earmarked for the end of the show. I don't know if we need to just kind of put it out there now since it's topical, or we want to wait.
Let's get into it, Dave. Why not?
I mean, I'm surprised you're letting us talk about it as much as Acho means to you.
No, I'm on record many times saying that he's insufferable. I cannot stand Emmanuel Acho. His brother Sam is all right in my book.
I believe Sam did the Baylor LSU game. He was the analyst.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
What, KJ?
I think he was
Oh, well, we were just talking.
mimicking.
We were just talking Sam. My
He's got
boy
a big-
Sam.
He's got a big smile.
Sammy.
Yeah, I don't think Whitlock really needed to insert himself into the situation by just telling everyone how horny he is and how it would have been a problem had he spent time around Joy.
He knows what he's capable of. His
About
words.
peanut butter.
The peanut butter skin.
It sounds like he didn't insert himself in the situation.
Okay. You know what?
We haven't seen the peanut butter. Again, why did we have to bring food into it?
Inside peanut butter, outside jelly. Who remembers that one?
I do.
You remember that one. No, Randy, I think Randy made one of his better contributions to the show, and I want you to be acknowledged for it.
Thank you, David.
You're doing great, little
Hey.
buddy.
Hey, podcast producer 2025, new year.
Oh.
We'll see about
Who's
it,
off
bud.
to a hotter start right now?
We'll see about it.
Who is off to the hotter start? Tune in. Hit
I
the
pulled
dip
tape
line.
mid-episode,
Yeah, but Randy played the pulled tape.
That's true.
but he had to click on something.
He still
No.
clicked on it.
Yeah.
He still had to play it. And he managed to do it in like a seamless manner, kind of.
He was fine.
It was fine.
It was fine.
It was fine. As always, subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/toomuchdip. Give us a rating. Give us a review. Maybe do it right now before KJ gets into his Happy Valley talk.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're a Penn State fan, either skip ahead or rate now, one of the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We always want to shout out our good friends at Roback. Dylan actually peeled a Roback hoodie that he had on. And that's not to say anything about the hoodie other than it's a great hoodie that keeps you warm. But it's hot in our studio.
I was a little toasty. That's all.
He wanted to show off that Ozempic bod.
It's a great I'm not on Ozempic for the record. It is a great hoodie. I love it very much. It's thick, it's heavy, it's cozy, it looks great. It's like a dusty navy color. It's awesome. Washed 20. And you can get the same one for 20% off, as well as everything else on their website, by the way. It is a one-time use code. Load the cart.
Dusty Navy sounds like a bartender at the Dick Saloon.
Old Dusty Navy. I guess it kind of does.
Maybe.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Randy's not off to the start we thought.
Yeah, that was fine.
He came out of
half
the
a
gates.
point.
Good stuff, Randy.
Hey, thanks.
What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about what we did over the break, sports-wise? I mean, just consumption. Maybe some of us took some trips. Some of us didn't.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way before we do Joy and Brain.
You took the trip, buddy. Tell us about
How
it.
was Happy Valley? Was it happy?
Worst fucking town on earth.
Whoa.
Wow.
Sorry.
Why'd
And
they
I
call it
don't
Happy
mean that,
Valley
like
then?
in a snarky way about how the game went. I bitched a lot about what that experience was going to be like before I got there, because I knew flying into Philly and driving 3 hours was going to be a whip. As somebody who makes that sort of a drive regularly or has, like, the distance didn't even bother me. It's just kind of an unpleasant place at an unpleasant time when you're dealing with like wet, rainy, snow and all that stuff. Like, that was kind of set the tone in a bad way as I arrived Friday night before a Saturday game. I'll try to avoid too much talk about the actual game.
Why? Yeah, what happened? I didn't watch it.
Well, like, I'll get into that briefly, but like my opinion about the city or town is somewhat separate than what occurred in the game. I was lucky enough to have a hotel that worked out great. Doesn't make sense how things were so sold out because my hotel was fairly empty. Even when you're like picking the room on the app, like the day of, I'm talking the entire floor I could have chosen from. And it wasn't as if I was like on the elevator with people nonstop. Like, there were people in the lobby the day of the game and all that, but it was not the scene of like a place that was packed. Got to the stadium 2 hours early. SMU had a part of the like concourse in the basketball arena set up as like their tailgate area, which was definitely like an SMU thing because it was cold as shit. I went prepared. I had wool base layer. Like, I wasn't that cold, but it was uncomfortable.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
How many callers?
I did not quad collar. But I think I had 2 crew, 2 collars. So I guess I had 4 layers. I was rocking 4 layers, but I was doing double. And I don't think that counts. I think you got to go 4 full collars. Crew neck doesn't count.
Okay.
2 rings, 2 things, if you know what I'm saying. Anyhow, setup in the concourse was kind of tight, like a full breakfast buffet situation. But again, you're avoiding the elements. And for somebody who wasn't watching this from afar, who also didn't have great phone signal because Happy Valley is in a valley and the phone signal in that place sucked. I was not aware that like Bryson DeChambeau and Craig James and the beat writer for SMU for one of the websites and several other billionaires were just having to circle the area as like the State College runway, which is owned by the university. Did not have any space for all these private jets that were flying in.
Ooh, NF.
So I won't say like a significant portion, but there were quite a few people who didn't even get to see half of the game, which, as you're aware, by the time they saw it, it was over. Getting to the stadium, I'm riding solo. SMU had a good showing. Her whole section was full. Again, it was cold as hell. And I knew what to expect, like reading all the comments and all the online reviews. But this stadium, for a place that's been in the Big Ten for 30 years and had TV money, bowl game money for years, it was the shittiest stadium I've been in.
Oh.
Like, if you've been to College Station 10 years ago and then been within the last 10 years, it's a night and day experience. Like, post Manziel, post like their rebuild. They've rebuilt that thing like twice. Texas is the same since they built like the uterus section in the end zone. What was that, about a decade ago? And then they've done like 3 renovations since.
It's shaped like a longhorn, not a uterus. Yeah, it's been
Oh.
a few seasons though.
Yeah, I thought it was like the repro receiving end zone or something.
Who's the big donor? Philip Seymour Hoffman? I don't know.
Full
That's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Fallopian Ben tubes.
Ben Tubes.
Anyways, we'll work on that. But that's a good example. Like, that's not even the most recent renovation. And that's probably like 3 ago. They built the big ass TV. They changed stuff this year. Like, that's a school that was in the Big 12 up until this year. But the money's always been there from ESPN, blah, blah, blah. Penn State's got no reason for me to be pissing in a trough next to Sal from Philly, which
Okay.
I'd say the crowd was like 40% Sal from Phillies. And I don't
Okay.
mean that kindly. Like, people talking, like, even to each other. There was a guy trying to go in like the wrong way of the restroom. Like, right. I passed by him. The dude behind me was not having that shit. He goes, "Hey man, there's a fucking line there."
Sick.
And he played full-blown bathroom cop, like bodied this dude, like put him against the wall, made him go stand in line. And I'm like, y'all are on some bullshit right now. Like, the guy's just trying to take a piss. He was cutting the line, but like,
Can I say
move on.
I pissed in a trough at Louisville, and
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it. Brought me back.
Is that where they had the troughs that were facing like basically like each side of the trough was occupied? So if you're pissing and someone's pissing directly across from you, you're staring at each other's wieners the
Oh
whole time.
no.
Sadly, no.
Somewhere I did that somewhere pretty recently. I thought that may have been that.
No, that
Like
was
a co-ed shot, like sink situation, but with urinals, you're saying?
Yo,
It's just like imagine a urinal trough, but it's like
Yeah.
double the width so that you can stand on either side of it and you just face the person across from you. It's like in the middle of the bathroom, not against the wall. Really bizarre.
Okay, and I'm not beyond using a trough in general. I think I've said on this show that at some point, like, I've advocated for pissing in the trash can or a sink if you're in line too much at a bar. I'm not anything special. I'm a piece of shit. Still am some days. But maybe if you're the school that everybody only goes to one joke or one insult, which I did not, by the way, maybe you're not the place to only offer urinal size or like urinal setup for taking piss, because like, I'm not trying to go in there, and I was legitimately like hanging out next to somebody's kid, and I'm like, what am I doing? What are we doing here, people? This
sure.
is awkward. So
Yeah.
anyways, cold ass stadium, blah, blah, blah. Fans in my direct vicinity, I'm about to wrap this up, couldn't have been kinder. But about 4 rows in front of me to whatever, 4 rows in front of me, and about a row and about 4 people to my right. I'm the only person. I'm wearing a red sweater. I had a black coat on, and I chose my moments when to rock the sweater, like when I could survive the wind. They did a 4th and 1 run that was stupid as shit. SMU stopped them. We'd driven the ball the drive before. Things were still fairly competitive. And so I cheer for the stop. We throw a pick like two or 3 plays later. Some person 4 rows in front of me, out of nowhere, turns around, is like reaching and pointing to my face like, "Fuck you, buddy." Like legitimately cussing at me, being like, "That's what you fucking get." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I go, turn that way. Move on. It's like, clap for your team. Don't look at me. And that's when I was like, okay, this is going to turn into a hostile situation.
Hell
I quickly reminded myself, I am alone, 3 hours from my airport, 5 states away from home, 3 days out from Christmas or whatever. Let's calm the fuck down, get it together. The game goes south. I have 2 or 3 interactions very similar to that. I get to a point where I'm just like waiting on my Uber on the way out of there. And there's a 5 foot, like 6.5 dude. He's gotten shorter every time I've told the story, if you're keeping up.
It started at 5'8", when you told Dylan and I earlier.
I didn't want to say 5'9".
You could say it. You
for
could say it,
obvious reasons.
Dave. You could say it was a Dave.
I shot short of that, but like, he's one of like 6 dudes. The other 5 are just kind of hanging out adjacent. He's just screaming at a group of SMU dudes that are kind of 10 feet away from both of us. He doesn't really see me off to his right. Like, "Oh, y'all fucking suck. Y'all stink. Go the fuck back to Texas." Blah, blah, blah. Like, just talking shit for no reason.
Hell yeah.
And meanwhile, like waves, it's 100,000 stadium, person stadium. Waves of people are like walking by, like in groups. And every single time to be a Penn State person, like telling him, like, hey man, you're making us look bad, like chill. And he's just dog cussing these people. Now, the SMU people weren't doing him any favors. They certainly were like, go cover up more rapes.
Oh,
It's like the immediate place they went. And I'm like, that does nobody any favors.
you got to go nuclear.
And it went on for about 10 minutes because we all eventually realized like there were no cars coming our direction. Like nobody was going to get picked up by an Uber, but we were all like individually like waiting on a ride, not getting the note because this whole conflict's going on. And about half the SMU people start wandering off. And that's what I think motivated Lil Man to kind of start taking some paces towards this group and amplify like what he was saying. Oh, you want to fight? You want to go? Like he turned it direct to like that note. And at that point I hadn't said shit. And I go, please just shut the hell up. Like, and I said it generally, not even to him, like just chill. It ain't worth it. And he's kind of startled and he looks back at me and goes, oh, this tough guy. You fucking stink. You want to fight? You want to fight? And he kept like repeating it.
He calls you
me,
the tough
like,
guy, and he's the one talking trash to everybody.
1,000%. He's like, oh, you should go back to Texas too. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking Texas. Shut up. And at that point, I'm like, I probably could have just ignored it, left it alone. But he kept digging in. And had it not been for basically a family who like kind of broke up the tension a little bit, because I wasn't going to swing on this little kid. Again, there was no good outcome of that. But I probably would have allowed it to become a situation where like hands would have been placed near his vicinity and it wouldn't have been good. And I immediately was like, all right, I got to figure out where the fuck my Uber is. But that meant like crossing his path and like approaching and like going around the corner. And at some point, like some family, like basically, again, told this dude, chill the hell out. And I took that opportunity to like, all right, get out of this situation. That does put him like at my back the whole time if he starts chirping or something stupid or like thinks that that's his shot. But I was like, okay, if he does try to run up, like, can I just toss him into traffic or am I like immediately in prison? Because at that point, like the cars were leaving the stadium still, but not coming towards us. I'm like, if I throw this little dude like out in the street, like I'm probably need to call a lawyer immediately. Like that's probably not great.
SMU alumni base can help though.
Yeah, it just turned ugly really quick. And again, I wanted none of that from the start. I told my neighbors who were standing beside me, I'm like, hey, I met my deductible this year. I'm not trying to go to the hospital. I'm not here. Like if I'm cheering, I'm just cheering for my team. I'm not trying to be obnoxious. If anything, I'm just trying to stay fucking warm. Chill ass people. They gave me a fucking meat stick. That's how nice they were. And I've kept it to be like, I earned a fucking free meat stick from these random people.
There you go.
That's so Penn State to bring that and just hand it off. They're good people at heart.
And I was like, hey, I'm from Wisconsin. I can appreciate a good meat stick and some cheese. Like,
yeah,
great, thanks. I like that was a cool thing, whatever. But there were 4 or 5 interactions where, again, you would not pull this shit. And maybe you would. It's been a while, and it wasn't in the student section. But I don't think you pull that shit at some random game. Back where I'm from, I don't know. Like, it just seemed very out of place. And so, like, the people who started that shit early on who were, like, pointing my direction, that was like a 60, 70-year-old guy. Old as fuck.
How many environments like that have you been in? Like hostile territory, you're at an away game, and it's a meaningful game. Your team loses. Kind of, adds
Great
a little,
question, I guess.
Adds a little machismo, a little confidence to the other side.
Well, I'll say that none in which my team has performed so poorly.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like Penn State it just has an ordinary number of bad seeds in that fan base, or if this is just like these are just college football fans and they all have a bunch of jackasses in them.
I think it was a little bit of both. I was warned ahead of time, like be cognizant, like a significant portion of their fan base is from Philly. In general, like most people were chill, and that's kind of what I experienced, but I don't know if that biased me going into it. Like I've been to SMU at A&M, stood in the A&M section. It's a different situation. Like they went into it expecting to win and they won, and I think they handled it as such. This was a lot different where like they expected to win, but I don't think they were very confident about it. And with how that game went with a bunch of big moments early, I think that put them at like full tilt of like, oh shit, no, we're actually going to win. Like we're going to do this. And they stink and they shouldn't be like, that's when it changed from like confidence and rooting for their team to being like shit talking. And it just was real weird.
Also the new format where you're hosting like the highest of leverage games,
that's what I wanted to ask Dylan and y'all about, like the other perspective.
Yeah, it's different. It's, obviously these two teams outside of like a non-conference game would never play each other, or a bowl, which would, previously be like a relatively meaningless bowl. So yeah, that it's a completely new dynamic. So that 7-year-old dude who turned around, he's probably hasn't been in a lot of these situations, right?
Yeah, not at all. And in bowls, you're not getting that type of fan 2 rows from the field. Like my location was primo. It worked out really great. That was a positive of this whole thing. Like CFP sells the tickets. So tickets were less than $200 for any seat, depending on how they were allocated. So on resale market, the day of, they'd gone under $100. I almost anticipated buying a second ticket in case like it was too hostile, like in my immediate neighbors. Like I was just going to fucking move somewhere else if that was a thing. So you were getting a whole different type of fan in a space where like those seats would have been season ticket holders for 30, 40 years. Like I was 6 rows from the field, 40-ish yard line or whatever, like a really decent spot. Could have been a little higher, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like the people who are sitting there, those tickets have been in their family for ages. Like you're not sitting 50-yard line, if you ain't going with Doc or something,
Yeah, good poll. You had a question for Dylan?
So my takeaway from this whole first round, and again, we're 2 weeks removed, and I think the national conversation about the games has kind of been had. I don't want to like make too many excuses about SMU, but the first thing I left that experience thinking was like, we all see these playoff games as playoff games, which previously had only been at bowls. And then we just mentioned like, hey, these will be at sites. But I don't think people realize these will now be full-blown home field advantage games. They tried to sell that they were going to like negate that a little bit. But based on what I saw from Texas later that day, like what they were doing in the stadium and on the screen and everything, like flashing lights still, like, did it seem like that was still a full-blown like absolute UT game?
First of all, I did not go to the game, so I didn't experience it from inside the stadium like you did. But I certainly did not get the impression that like the whole production was neutral whatsoever. Yeah. It seemed like very much just a Texas home game. Yeah. Yeah.
So at Penn State, I think Penn State tried to follow the rules that were like laid out in paper. I think I posted on Twitter, like they said, you won't get the whole flashing lights thing. And I know Texas did that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it was an 11 a.m. game. It wouldn't like, even if Penn State did it, I wouldn't have noticed. But I bring that up as like an example of like, they talked about, hey, you're going to be seeing all the pageantry, which I think a lot of people equate to like Clemson running down the hill, touching the rock, balloons going off. Texas, you get the cannon, get Bevo, Texas fight, like the crowds do their thing. But as we all know, like atmosphere at a stadium is heavily dependent on like what they're pumping through the speakers. And I'd be willing to wager any amount of money. There were 2 or 3 times where Penn State, whoever was on the board, fucked up because like they were piping audio in like as and after the ball was being snapped, and like had a couple hot mic situations like from wherever that was coming from. And I'm like, hey, you can't be doing that. Like as they're calling audibles, as they're snapping ball, after the ball snaps, still playing music, still like pumping in noise. And then you get like random voices over a loud ass PA for like a split second. I'm like, okay, it's a little wild. You've got 100,000 people. Do you really need that too? And they were 100% doing that kind of bullshit. So it was just a lot of that shit where I'm like, yeah, it being windy as fuck affected that game. Like to the point where Penn State didn't want to kick. Their punts were like 30 yards, 20 yards or whatever. SMU didn't want to kick. But a lot of that other bullshit, I think mattered at Notre Dame, mattered at Texas, mattered at whatever the fourth one was, or Ohio State for sure.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if in-stadium production dialed it back. I certainly did not notice any of that during the Texas game. I mean, I watched all the games. I didn't, but I also, to be fair, I didn't consider that. That would be a part of like the CFP rules and regulations. So I don't really know. Interesting.
Yeah, it was. I guess my last thing on this, like, it was noticeable only because when you would get like usually a commercial about go to the Texas Co-op or whatever in between plays, TV timeouts, on the screen at Penn State, it was all CFP content. They were trying to sell you tickets to the national championship, which just kept annoying the fuck out of me because I'm like, why wouldn't they be trying to sell you tickets to the Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah.
Like, getting either fan base that's there who's emotional about the game, like, drive them about the next round. But again, those are bowl games. CFP only owns the first round and the Natty. So the commercials were like this nondescript, like, stock image video of like, buy the VIP experience at wherever the bowls are, wherever the Natty is this year. Whatever, Atlanta, I think. And like trying to sell you on buying something that's 4 games away. And it just seemed really weird. It was like somebody selling you a New Year's Eve package is what the videos look like. But they only had 2 or 3. So every timeout, every TV timeout, every review, every like interruption of the game, it was that. So you could tell that they told them you can't show whatever the hell they normally would show. But it was just strange. Very, very strange. Anyways, would go back to anywhere but Penn State just because bitch to get to. And I'm just not trying to fight people.
Yeah.
Too old for this shit.
On that note, I do love so much the home. I mean, you had not great experience. I understand that. But now that we've gotten a taste of home games, home playoff games in college football, it reminds me how much I hate championship games being played in professional domes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least like play it in the Rose Bowl every year or something, like a stadium like that that's a neutral field, that's like a real college feely environment. All these games in Jerry World, in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I don't like it. It takes so much of the college feel away from college football, which is like, the pageantry is like the best part, or one of the best parts of the game. Anyway, that's Did y'all
see the images of like SMU's band or any of those things? Like, they put SMU's band at the very top, the tip top of the stadium. The shit that, like, I think A&M does that to the visitors, like the top of a 100,000 seat stadium. In the Texas A&M game, remember we talked about this opening where they just kind of let the crowd noise ride. They put the lyrics of the home fight songs up, but both bands were like present and a part of it. Like, I thought that made for dope ass TV. And so when you're doing shit like putting SMU as the smallest fucking band, it would not have made a difference. There's less than 100 people in it. Like, high schools have more bandmates than like SMU does. When you're doing stuff like that, like, I feel like if it was a Tennessee, Ohio State, and you're putting both bands, like, okay, I guess it could have an impact. They're restricted from playing during the game anyway. They only play at halftime and pregame. Like, not even from their seats. You score a touchdown, they couldn't do shit, basically. So, like, if you change those kind of things and like let both teams like be present, I think it adds to the environment, because that Texas A&M Texas situation was dope. Like, I think they've got to just dial back some of those things.
I didn't notice.
My whole. Yeah, no.
Well, we could talk Texas. We got to
at least talk Texas.
How are we
Arizona
feeling?
State for sure.
About the game upcoming?
Yeah. We should just jump right into games.
I'm not feeling great. Texas, I kind of tweeted my thoughts after the game. And this is like the Texas that got by Arizona State was the Texas that's been frustrating me pretty much all season, minus just a handful of games. Like, they get out to these leads and it's like, all right, let's keep it going. And then they just disappear for like multiple quarters at a time. Mm-hmm. The third quarter for Texas was an absolute disaster. And this is like a very, very common theme for Texas. Quinn Ewers can look incredible in moments, and then he'll just fall apart. And it's extremely frustrating to watch. Though on that, you got just some really dumb penalties. The The run game disappeared during that game. In credit to Arizona State, they looked good. I mean, Scattaboo is a baller. That dude's a gamer. I was very, very impressed with him, and they just played good football. And Texas was, in my opinion, pretty lucky to get by. Ohio State is just found another gear. It seems like that offense is just, they got guys running free through the secondary. I don't know what the hell's going on there, but that freshman receiver Jeremiah Smith is unbelievable. I'm scared. Yeah, I mean, this is the first game Texas is the underdog going in per Vegas, and I think since 2023. I mean, it's been a very long time since they've been an underdog. That might help them in a way because they've been expected to win almost every game that they've been in. And so maybe this is like, all right, guys, like the bullshit's got to stop now. You can't get by these lesser teams by just being Texas and out-talenting them. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't feel great about it at all. So I don't know.
Neutral observer, although I will admit I was pulling for Texas. I think it all boils down to the inconsistent run game, because like when you get out to a lead, natural inclination, like most coaches are going to try to run the ball. Why put the ball in the air? Keep the clock going, whatever. And I was shocked. That they couldn't do that at all.
I know, especially considering what they did to Clemson. They destroyed them in the run game. I think they rushed for 260 in that game.
They didn't have one of their dudes. Cam Williams
is out with a knee injury. I think he's going to be back for this game, which is going to help. But yeah, they could not run the ball against the defensive line that Texas outweighed by like 40 pounds per.
Shocking.
It was crazy.
Shocking.
Did Texas have Kelvin Banks in the Clemson game? Because they had him against Arizona State, but did they have him against Clemson?
No.
Yes. Yeah, he was back for Clemson.
Okay, so he missed the SEC title.
He missed the SEC title game against
right.
Georgia, and he came back after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, right tackle.
They
Cam
were
Williams
down
was
in
out.
rushing against Georgia too, and Georgia gave up a shit ton on the ground versus Notre Dame. So I'm like, and by no means am I doubting him, but I wonder how much of the inconsistency is because of like the inconsistent lineups and the injuries and like reinsertion of players. Like, do you overcoach when you're missing your stars and like add in some of the details you should be adding to your stars? Like when you have your standard lineup, I don't know what it is, but it's just strange. Like you've got the Outland Trophy winner back for these games, but performed really well against Clemson, should have performed as well against Arizona State and didn't. Had all the reason in the world, just couldn't. And I don't know what's going on.
I can't make sense of it either. But yeah, Dave, you're right. That is the key to the Texas offense, especially in this game. If they can't establish somewhat of a running game, it's going to be a long day.
That's why I give I give Quinn a little bit of a pass, because hey, all right, so he fucks around a little bit, yeah, and he was a baller. It was like the stat, like the last 5 minutes and then overtime, he was nails and like had some just big league throws. Obviously, they ended up winning them the game, but the fact that he can't run the ball at all, and it's like, you're going to do this, and he still looks like he's not moving around great.
Yeah.
I give him a little bit of a pass. I'm also highly leveraged in a group text argument over Quinn, to where I basically need Quinn to win the national championship, so I don't lose this meaningless argument against a guy I see once a year. But I really want this to happen.
Yeah. Quinn, his short and intermediate passing game is elite. Like it is. Like he can hit guys in stride from anywhere up to 20 yards. But when he throws the ball downfield, and he did have obviously the 4th and 13 in overtime was an incredible play. But he threw an interception in the fourth quarter. He just he floats the ball.
That was a floater.
He floats the ball when you just can't do it. And it's like, dude, drive the ball. Like you have an arm every single time now. His deep ball, it's never been good. And you would think like by now that's just who he is. He doesn't have a deep ball. It's bizarre. I don't get it.
Do you remember the Vanderbilt game? We were at our meetup, so we didn't get to watch it like in depth, but it was like Texas had it was like 24-7 or something. They had a lead. It wasn't a full blowout, but they had the game. And then we looked up and it was a 1-score game.
Yeah, that's every Texas game.
That felt like Yeah, it feels like half the games this year, or half their wins, or that was the game. It's bizarre.
It
but
is. It is.
I'm very interested to see what happens against Ohio State team that's like peaking, that's going to put up points. When Texas has to hit the gas like every time down, because I feel like they could score with them. I feel like if they don't get in that weird game management, time management thing with Sark, where it's like we don't really know what we want to do. Do we want to step on their throats? It's like they lack that killer instinct. I'm interested to see. I think it's going to be a close game, but I totally understand being scared because Ohio State looks fucking nasty.
They
right
destroyed
now.
Tennessee and absolutely destroyed Oregon. The final score doesn't even give justice to how lopsided that game was.
Yeah, that sucked. Because I was looking forward to that game all day, and by the time that Texas, that was the one that we didn't even get to watch until OT was done, right?
Yeah.
You turn it on, it was like 14-0, and you're like, what happened?
And by the way, the Michael Taft hit should have been targeting. Like I've said it on Twitter. I've made my stance on that. Don't come at me for that. I think it should have been targeting, and that likely is the end of the game for Texas.
Can I say there are very,
go
very
ahead.
smart people on both sides of that, like very high-level football analysts that have taken and dug in on both sides. So somebody's dead wrong, and I don't know who it is.
The biggest reason against it being targeting is that he didn't go crown of helmet, which is like one of the key components of targeting. It was face mask hit basically, but he led with his head. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I'm personally like, as far as like a policy position, I'm glad it wasn't, because I think that kind of hit shouldn't be. But like that's usually called targeting in college football.
Yeah, it usually is. Although Texas could have also had a targeting penalty on that Quinn touchdown. Isaiah Bond got possibly targeted.
Oh, the pick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that was bad. That was really bad.
Yeah.
Because he's laid out for a second. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the text. I think I was wrong in the moment. I watched everything on Skycast, which is the best thing about this college football playoff and like any of their bowl games. Like the megacast seems so overdone in the beginning, but I love the fact that I can do the main broadcast sometimes. And I'm a real fucking weirdo, and I will have the main broadcast going on my phone with a headphone in and watch the Skycast because I love the angles, and I love that you don't go to commercial every time, and you get to see some random stuff like Colin Simmons being a psychopath after Arizona State had a player down that you wouldn't get on the national TV screen without all the extra Pat McAfee sideline stuff or like I don't need the StatCast. That's too much for my ADHD. I can't do it.
Yeah, Brett informed me that he was watching one of the games on a plane ride home, and that I think it was the Skycast was like a couple minutes ahead. And he said the guy he was watching. Brett was watching one feed, and then the guy in front of him on the plane was watching the other. And Brett was like, "Dude, I was seeing plays that were like 2 minutes. I was 2 minutes behind this guy. I'm gonna check that out. I'm assuming they're gonna stick with it and keep doing it for this next round, but I need to check that out because I've heard good things."
Well, the next round occurs Thursday and Friday night because the college football playoff and just NCAA in general is just full of peas. I was just pausing. Like, there's obviously terrible events happening in New Orleans. Like, I'm not going to stop down for all of that. I wanted to make room to say shout out to good dude Greg Sankey, something you'll never hear me say ever again. Because Greg Sankey actually made the request for the games to be flipped, the start times, which would have been a logistical fucking nightmare. That means Texas would have played Thursday instead of Friday after the Notre Dame game was delayed so that Penn State and Notre Dame play Friday. Then I got to looking at the NFL's playoff schedule. Saturday, they have one game at like 4:00.
Texans Chargers.
Texans. Yeah, the Texans.
Texans in there. That's their every year. Their playoff 3:30 Saturday every year. Every time they make the playoffs, that's their spot.
Are you telling me we couldn't have gotten a Friday, Saturday? Like you couldn't have got a noon Saturday bowl kick?
I don't know.
Why did they schedule that in the beginning? Well, I guess you've got to deal with like not knowing which NFL teams stadiums are going to be available. So if the Cowboys would have played, you couldn't have committed to a Saturday Cotton Bowl. So maybe that goes back to Dylan's point. Like, that's kind of a pain in the ass about playing these NFL stadiums. But like, Thursday night game's going to suck because we're going to get these 2 games Thursday, Friday, deal with a big slate of college or NFL playoffs, and then you've got to wait to the following Monday for the Natty.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
And that just kind of sucks.
It's a lot. I guess overall, like as far as the, we didn't really get into Notre Dame. But I'm curious, like there was so much bitching, and I mean, we missed so much that, like, you know, the watching people bitch about, you know, Indiana and SMU, and then watching Tennessee get run, and that kind of saved them. And then now we're looking at, what about how the teams that had the bye week, you know, all getting run. I don't know. I'm assuming there's not going to be any changes this next year, right? We got to give it at least a couple of years. Have they said?
Yeah, so everybody will want it, except it has to be unanimous. Which, shout out to Greg Sankey for having like the sound thoughts on this too. Again, 2 things he's done well. He requested that change, knowing the SEC was not going to be involved, by the way. Like, that did not benefit an SEC team. If anything, it would have made it logistically more difficult for Texas, like playing a day early and having to change things up. Like, he did that to benefit Penn State and Notre Dame, which I thought was tremendous.
Okay.
It may be garnering favor with Notre Dame, who has 2 of the 24 voices. But anyways, in order to change something in 2025, the votes have to be unanimous. And that includes the 80 and the presidents representing the group of 5. Because the CFP is all made up of like 1 president from each conference, 1 AD from each conference, and then same thing from the group of 5. So the group 5 has to be on board. Boise State doesn't leave until 2026. And so they would be actively like voting against them having the bye they had this year. Now, some might say we could have had a game at Boise. Things might have bounced differently. Who knows? But I doubt that's going to happen. Like, you're going to take that bowl money and bowl experience 10 times out of 10 because it's more money to be in the second round than it was in the first. So that's not going to change till 2026.
Okay. Yeah. Can I overall, as a guy who didn't have a team really in it, but I had some reading. I was pulling for SMU, and I'm
like, you had the odds are that you would have had a team.
It's really crazy. Yeah.
Four teams
Somehow none of my 8 teams made it. But I am. No, look, give me Texas Notre Dame. Give me that. That's a fun natty.
Notre Dame looks strong.
I'm completely fine with how it all played out.
Yeah, Notre Dame looks strong. I love Freeman's called that. They had the punt, and then they rushed everybody off, and then forced Georgia to kind of panic and rush their guys on for punt coverage or whatever, punt team.
That was beautiful.
And then draw them off sides. Thought that was a brilliant move. Notre Dame looks good, man. They have some real athletes on defense. Quarterback's kind of a gamer. I know KJ kind of trashed Notre Dame a while back a little bit.
Just their passing game, and I think that showed up against Georgia. But
yeah,
what do I know? He was the fucking MVP of the game, apparently, with 96 passing yards.
Georgia's got a good defense.
They got some dudes on defense, too. Notre Dame does. Yeah, they look good. They look good. Yeah, I have them over Penn State.
I hope.
What's the Penn State tight end's name? White dude.
Tyler
who's awesome.
Warren.
That dude shows up. That dude's pretty sick.
He's very, very, very good and imposing in person.
I'm like looking at on my whiteboard and my mocks that I'm running for a Cowboys draft. I'm running some mocks, back in the napkin mocks. I'm just like, how can I make the argument that we need a tight end? It would be like our first or second round tight end in the last few years. There's really not a good argument, but I love that dude. That dude makes big catches, and he's fucking athletic, and he's just an all around good football player.
It's disrespectful to equate him to New Orleans BYU guy.
Taysom Hill.
But I mean, he lines up at quarterback. He lines up at Wildcat. And there was not a contested pass or a ball to his vicinity that like he did not make a play on.
Yeah.
He was not the after the play chippy guy. Like, it was cool to be able to see him in person. Abdul Carter. It's clear that's a top 5, top 10 pick kind of guy. I will point out for all those people saying SMU struggled against them is like Penn State had 3 sacks on us on the day, and they sacked the shit out of like whoever the hell, Boise State or whatever. Anyways, we did fine. We did fine.
SMU lost that game because their quarterback, who I really like, shout out to him, but
Threw a couple picks.
he was not ready for that game. But I thought the SMU defense held up a lot better than I thought they would. They showed up ready to play. That was just unfortunate. Felt bad for the kid, but he'll be better. He's young. Any thoughts on like? So I've got a new segment I want to introduce. It's called my plays the game the right way, big gamer, limited talent guy of the week, and it's Michael Taff, safety, Texas, out of Westlake.
He's just a real lunch pail.
You know,
guy,
he's not fast and he's not athletic.
Former walk-on.
Not athletic. Really, just no talent whatsoever. Although, you know, he does probably start over what I assume is a 4 or a 5 star. Probably 2 of them, really.
A second-team All-American, by the way.
I just want to shout out Herbie. Herbie's had a tough few weeks. He should probably stay off Twitter.
He's also expected to depart Texas a year early and declare for the draft.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's going to be tough given how he's just not a good player, but he somehow starts at Texas.
As a junior, he decided to walk on senior day and did the whole production thing. So he is
okay.
That's his like, yeah, I'm probably out of here move.
That was my favorite little tidbit because I'm watching the Texas game and they're like focusing in on him and it's like, oh yeah, here's the white guy on defense for Texas. Oh, he plays in the secondary too. Cool. And then like Herbie's like, you know, I mean, literally, I'm not paraphrasing, I guess. You know, he's not the fastest guy. He's doing all the tropes. And then like somebody pointed out like, hey, like Dylan said, second team All-American.
Yeah, he's had quite a season.
And again, it's not like he's the only 5-star or he's not the only. It's not like that backfield, that defensive backfield isn't loaded with 4 and 5 stars. Like this dude's earned his way onto the field, and I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole like, anyways, you said enough. I was just gonna say the whole like pitching of the walk-on part of it being a part of his like backstory. Of course, it's relevant. It's impressive. I think it means a lot. Somebody's been in those shoes. I also don't know if it's like a Baker Mayfield situation where like, yeah, he walked on at Texas because that's where he wanted to go and it was local, but he could have gone to Tulane or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But either way, the guy's tremendous.
Yeah.
So you want to know another white guy that's tremendous?
Scattaboo.
Cam Scattaboo.
Yeah, I gotta say, that got a little dicey for our guy Colin Simmons, noted a 5-star out of Duncanville and freshman, defensive freshman of the year, right?
All around freshman of the year.
All around freshman of the year, who's at halftime talking shit on Instagram, and then Scattaboo comes out and just goes. Granted, that was a really, really fluky pass that he threw. That probably not only should it have been incomplete, it probably should have just been picked. But Scattaboo went off and. It's cool to see a guy back it up like that, especially a guy who just I can't get a read on. He just looks fucking mad. He never looks happy. He looks like he's mad.
A little puking rally on the sideline.
He's puking. He doesn't really look like he's enjoying being there. It's like he's like, fuck, this is my lot in life. I've got to do it.
He said that he thinks he ate something that morning. This is like a post. This is like a few days later he was interviewed. He ate like a breakfast wrap that didn't sit well. And that's why he felt sick. He says, but once he threw up, he felt much better. Even though he was tapping out every other play. Like he would run, 8-yard run, and he would run to the sideline, sit for 2 plays, come back in, another 7-yard run. I don't know what was going on with that guy. He's a fucking gamer.
He also takes contact, like bad contact on every other play. He's an absolute
unnecessary
unit.
contact.
He's a stout little dude, man.
Yeah.
And shifty. Like he's like, I'd want him on my team.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It certainly was a tough look for me who like all but declared Dillingham like red ass of the year almost after Kirby Smart, given Dillingham's performance after that BYU game. Then to find myself, I was never like rooting against Texas. I think I was like most people like, holy shit, this is a spectacle. Let's just give me more. Like, let this be the Georgia Tech Georgia game. Like, I don't care. Texas should have won this game. That'd be great. But like, let's go another round. Let's go another round. I think Texas decided to be Texas again for like 4 plays. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. We're leaving. But it was great to see that little moment of like, oh yeah, this is why they should be there. I wish Ashton Genty would have been able to like deliver that same pop, he was productive. He also showed he's a very good running back against a good defense. We just didn't get those moments from Indiana. We get them from Nico, like those, like, holy shit, there are stars everywhere. You know, Brashard Smith didn't give it for SMU. Our defense did, but like getting to see one of those other stars outside of the teams they're still playing show up would have been cool. Oregon, they had player hurt, had early turnovers, and then everybody spent the day talking about how great Ohio State was and not talking about like, well, Oregon has looked sus a lot of times this year. They were undefeated without question. It didn't mean that they were the best team in every game they played.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were that much worse than Ohio State. I just think they were not nearly as good as like maybe undefeated made everybody feel they were going to be.
And last point, I will point out that the Texas State Bobcats, the back-to-back First Responders Bowl champs, did hold Cam Scatterboot to 60 yards.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
just an amazing, ironic note, though.
I do want to at least mention the name of Mestmaker or whatever the hell his first name is, quarterback from UNT. That might be my coolest story of the entire bowl season.
First start
He's
since middle
from
school.
Austin Vandergriff.
Sounds right.
Ah.
I don't know which
State
one that
champs.
is or where
it's
that
north,
is.
Steiner Ranch area, north of there, I believe.
Okay. Up Northwest way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hadn't started a game since, what was it, Dylan?
8th grade?
Middle school.
Ninth grade? Like ninth grade B team. This is his last like actual like playing time, middle school or whatever, because he backed up, maybe it's Louisville's quarterback behind Tyler Schuff, who was like a 4-star quarterback or whatever, and stayed and went and played safety. Went on to North Texas as a quarterback, I guess, and as a walk-on, and started the bowl game because Chandler Morris, Chad Morris's son, transferred to a school somewhere else. Don't know. Can't remember. So that was just wild to see. And then he threw for the 3rd most yards a freshman's thrown for in a bowl game ever.
He looked good.
Behind Lamar Jackson and a quarterback out of some school out of Dallas. Oh, Kyle Padron out of SMU when they beat Colin Kaepernick in the Hawaii Bowl.
Oh, there you go. He looked good.
It's really the only reason we're doing that.
It was, yeah. I mean, look, it's fun to shout out to GJ Kinney going back to back in bowl games. But yeah, that dude was the story, and that was pretty crazy. Tie a bow on bowl season thus far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Until next
Big
time.
games. Big games coming up, folks.
Big games, man.
What's your
already for
prediction?
Friday.
Do you feel about Notre Dame, Penn State? Do you have a feel on that one, like who you prefer or who you expect to win? Dylan?
I don't have a preference on who wins. I think Notre Dame does win. They seem to be playing better ball right now, slightly. I mean, Penn State looks good too, but I like the way Notre Dame's looking.
Got it.
And my prediction for Texas Ohio State, I think Texas loses by 7 to 10, somewhere in there. Although I hope I'm very wrong.
Okay.
My picks don't mean shit, but I expect Texas to win. And if world famine were to occur, combined with like a genocide of your choosing, you get to select it.
Yikes.
I'd be okay with both of those things if it also if Penn State won, but then we found out Penn State was a culprit for those two things occurring.
Okay.
So give me Notre Dame and then Texas is my actual pick.
Got it.
By the way, I believe Ohio State is minus 120, not just to win this week, but to win the national championship. So with the semifinals still to play, they are minus 120, which says quite a bit.
Still got
Recency bias.
to fire Ryan Day though. Lost to Michigan. In my opinion, no matter what, got to get rid of him. Oh man, hey man, look, all these bowls you're watching, all these bowls of super eating over the holidays, all these cookies and all the partying and whatnot. It's hard to focus. That's why we got our good friends at Magic Mind. I love focusing. I love sleeping better. I like having a good diet. I believe in exercise and stress management. I believe in all that stuff. But Magic Mind helps support these pillars without overpromising. It's a tool to enhance focus and improve sleep as part of a bigger strategy. These tools are the little things that help you move in the right direction, and we're getting off to a hot start here. Dylan's optimized at a level no one even expected.
I did enjoy my Magic Mike this morning. I said Magic Mike.
Oh, did you now?
My magic mind this morning, which is why I've been operating such an optimal level.
Look, we got different shots. We've got 24 hours of mental performance. We got sleep shots for better sleep and focus shots for daytime clarity. I knew something was up with Dylan. He came in this morning. He was like, "You guys aren't going to believe how I'm going to be acting in 2025." And he put his money where his mouth is. I've been using Magic Mind focus shots like every time they send them here, but also I've got them at the house. Sometimes I go 2 a day if I'm really struggling. And at night, the sleep product, it's got me winding down after just 3 nights of use. It's fantastic. And for the first time, the 24-hour pack is now available. Focus and sleep shots bundled for the first time at 45% off. Exclusive. We'll have a link available to you in the description of this podcast. Look, you need to invest in your mental wealth. That's something we're doing. It's January Mental Wealth Challenge. We're rocking that this year. There's no better time to start than now. Make 2025 the year that you build your mental resilience, improve both your sleep and your awake clarity for Magic Mind. And dude, look, let's talk about it. The taste is good.
So good.
You can sip on it, but it's like a little shooter. But like I like to sip on it because I like how it tastes. How about that?
Do I taste a little grapefruit in there? That's what it kind of gives grapefruit aftertaste.
There's something in there that I'm liking, and that's probably what it is. You get focus, clarity, a sharper mind, less stress, and clean energy, plus time-release caffeine. It's fantastic, and it's 100% safe. All ingredients are third-party tested, sourced from the best suppliers, and Magic Mind donates 5 cents for each bottle to mental health charities that help homelessness in the United States. It's doctor validated, over 200 scientific studies behind every ingredient, and all their mushrooms are organically grown in California. They're vetting it. There's no risk. They're confident. They're so confident in what they built. They offer a 100%, no questions asked refund for 100 days after buying, and it's shipped internationally to over 65 countries. It's even in stores too. Sprouts, HEB, Central Market, and Erewhon. Am I saying that right? That sounds regional as heck. I don't know about it,
I think you did.
Okay, Erewhon, check it out. Get 45% off the Magic Mind bundle with our link. Go to magicmind.com/TMDJAN. That's magicmind.com/TMDJAN. Magic Mind. A little football, a little NFL football if you want to talk. We got some coaches on the move. Got some coaches who are maybe staying. We don't know. The playoffs are set.
Where do you want to start?
I guess the big controversy is New England.
Yeah, all the
Mayo.
others are expected.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about whatchamacallit getting fired in Jacksonville forever. Jets been gone. Bears been gone. But Gerard Mayo, 1 year in New England.
That's tough. And the Robert Kraft quote, conversation afterward was weird.
87-year-old. I don't know how old he is. It listed it in the article, which I thought was somewhat funny, probably relevant. He basically said it's entirely on me. I feel terrible for Gerard. I put him in an untenable situation. He was put in a position basically where he was not going to be able to win. He needed more time before accepting this position. To which I would like to kindly reply, it sounds like you could, I don't know, hire some assistant head coaches to better support and provide that time, as he already has the job. But firing him after 4-13 season will only make it more difficult for him to get said job again. And that's kind of shitty.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of weird. I think about how, man, had he just been in Dallas, he probably could have kept the job for another 4 years. Given the what we tend to do with head coaches here, that
How often does a coach get in
Menace to
1
death.
year like this? I don't remember this happening in recent history at all. 1 year and you're out.
I don't know what the precedent is there, but it's pretty crazy. What was the expectation there?
I mean, as far as wins, you're saying? I don't think this was a production thing. There likely was more going on that led to this. As far as recent one and dones, Frank Reich, 2023 Panthers. That's after, letting him draft Bryce Young. Lovie Smith, which Gerard Mayo also had the wonderful similarity because the Patriots would have had the first overall pick. Had they lost yesterday against the Bills, all you had to do was lose. But just like Lovie Smith and the Texans, he decided to fuck around and win that game. And now the Patriots have the 4th overall pick in a game that they were wildly favored to lose or whatever, you know what I mean? Underdogs.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett with the Broncos, 4-11. David Culley with the Texans. Some guy named Urban Meyer. There's quite a few, but Urban Meyer, Jags, Freddie Kitchens. It goes on and on from there. It's just every other one. It looks like an absolute shit show. Hugh Jackson with the Raiders, Mike Mularkey with the Jags, which I don't even remember. Probably predates my fandom. And Jim Tomsula, shouts to him, with the Niners. So like every other one was a dumpster fire. This seems like the weird one where it's like, this is an internal guy who was known, who was loved, who was revered with the organization. Everybody celebrated the hire and you didn't give him any time.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I don't know. It's just really weird, and it's the Patriots, so it's like very high profile. I don't know. Have they? Where's Vrabel ending up in all this?
I think that plays a role too. Vrabel's interviewed with the Jets last year. Kraft was asked directly about interviewing or considering Vrabel. But I think he had said there are lots of great candidates available.
Okay.
So I do wonder if the timing of Vrabel's availability, which is going to be weird to go from like to one guy that was in the same linebacker room with another guy.
Oh yeah, good point.
I think they maybe not for the full career. Vrabel's older, but still, maybe they overlapped.
Yeah. Just looking at the weekend slate, I know we touched on it earlier. Texans hosting the Chargers. That 3:30 thing is so funny for the Texans because it really is like every time they're in there that Saturday game. Some good matchups. I don't know. Steelers Ravens always kind of a weird divisional thing going on in the playoffs there, which is odd, but that should make for a great game. But I don't know, anything jump out. I mean, as three guys who don't have a dog in the fight, we're just all neutral observers, just sad boys here.
Well, this is interesting from Adam Schefter. The Chicago Bears have sought permission to interview Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
Oh no!
Oh, yes.
And they have
It's kind of been rumored for a
respond.
little bit.
There you go, Randy. I knew you wore that sweater for a reason.
Let me just.
Yeah,
Yikes.
I didn't want to talk too much Cowboys.
No, there's not much to say on the Cowboys. They stink, and they have a loser of an owner who runs everything, and it's ugly.
Go get
it.
Cliff. Go get Cliff
Did you
out of
see his
Washington. Which one? The one on Landman? You mean his appearance on Landman, or are you talking about like his quote about Cooper Rush and the incentives that he didn't know about?
I forgot to even mention that the incentive situations from yesterday, which I love those stories. No, when asked whether or not any changes would be coming as for the GM position with the Cowboys, his quote included, "When I bought the team, I bought an occupation as the GM." Yeah. And the quote of "I bought an occupation" is absolute fire.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
Unless you're a Cowboys fan.
Unless you're a Cowboys, for sure.
Every couple years, someone asks him that. They pull out, get the balls to ask him that, and that's how he tends to answer it. So cool.
Has he started talking to Sark yet?
Stop.
There's some interest per some people, per Shefty.
Sark might coach in the NFL, but it's not going to be until Arch Manning has moved on to the league himself.
That would make sense.
Or
I think the Heat has to like dwindle at Texas, and I don't think I see that coming anytime soon. I mean, dynasties are hard to build, even harder to slow down, it seems like in college. But it's going to take a bad quarterback run. And like you just mentioned, if you've got Arch and he is what he's supposed to be, you're good for another 3 years. So I don't see that happening.
God, that's crazy. McCarthy in Chicago.
Quick question. We mentioned it before. I have not seen his name on any list. But are we sure we don't see Deion in the NFL? He shot it down directly a few times. Basically, why would I? Straight out said no. And that was before he signed the 5-star out of USC. before the deadline. But now is when those phone calls are made. Now is when that interest begins.
I don't
Do
see
we
him.
see a Sanders or any other top tier college coach make that move this year?
I don't see him thriving in the NFL because he needs to be in control of his roster. People want to. I mean, these kids want to play for Deion Sanders, right? And they like, what he, his culture and all that.
Prime time.
Yeah. But his ability to manage, a roster of professional football players, I could be wrong. I don't know. But I think he needs to stay in college. And I think he knows that that's kind of his bread and butter, is like creating a team around him. I don't know.
We'll never see, but I'm hope to be able to answer the hypothetical of who will be more successful, Belichick in the ACC with the North Carolina Tar Heels, since we hadn't mentioned that and we missed that, or like Sanders in the NFL, but we'll wait to see if we get both sides of that.
We'll see how he does in the post-Shador and Travis Hunter era of Colorado football. Might tell a completely different story. His shine might wear off pretty quickly.
That's a good point. Yeah. Elsewhere, so you got the Chiefs and Lions getting the bye. I don't know how much of that game you watched last night, but Lions are fucking. They're just a machine. They're just a culture
How do you have
machine.
so many injuries?
And how does everybody? How is like next man up? Like I hate next man up. It's working so well for them. Like I've never seen it like that. They shut down Jefferson. That was crazy. I fully turned that on after I was watching. My wife was making me watch some Golden Globes. Shout out to her. And I turned that on fully expecting like a dogfight in the second half. And that thing they blew that thing open in the beginning of the fourth. So Dan Campbell, it's a culture creator there.
Yep. Yeah, let's skip over all the draft stuff. We can save that for another day.
Real quick, I want to shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. I thought Will was ad-libbing that. He wasn't. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, Dylan. And you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WASHED. That's code WASHED for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-878-9777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. I don't know how we kind of led with it and then we just kind of got sidetracked, but the FS1 stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they knew this was coming, and they could have. I wonder what I have not read start to finish the complaint, but they could have paid this woman off. They had to have known a lot of this was going to get out there, and that a lot of people who may not even have done, like Acho, the aforementioned Emmanuel Acho, not accused of doing anything wrong, morally maybe, yes, but like that's going to get out there and that's going to embarrass one of your, that guy's a talent for FS1 right now. I don't know. This is crazy. They were on the air today and they're obviously not talking about it. We can't speak on it due to pending litigation, that whole deal. The Skip stuff is wild. 1.5 mil.
Yeah, allegedly
Skip.
offered.
You ever done that?
Hairdresser or like makeup hair? Is that
Hair, yeah.
Now Sheen Faraji? What's so funny?
Dave slipping in. You ever done that?
Oh,
And I assume you're talking about offering $1.5 million.
yeah.
to
Allegedly offered her $1.5 million for sexual relations.
How bad do you have to be to offer that much?
Some lingering hugs that made her uncomfortable.
Where's my hug?
Yeah, and then the stuff about Joy. What's her last name?
Taylor.
Joy Taylor.
Little sister of Jason Taylor.
Allegedly sleeping her way to the position that she is in.
Did you know she's the little sister of Jason Taylor? Because
Is that real?
I learned that yesterday.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun fact.
That peanut butter skin.
one of the all-time hottest defensive ends.
Your Whitlock's words, not ours. He is a
Sorry,
hot
I stepped
defense.
that
all
makes
over
sense
that.
because he too has peanut butter skin. I'm sorry. Don't cancel me. It's just a quote. from
Dylan got off Jif last year. He let us know earlier.
Yeah, that's true.
That was part of his
A lot of
2024.
saturated fats in Jif. I'm off it.
Yeah, too many weird oils and stuff. You don't want to fuck with Jif.
Yeah.
Move up to the Central Market stuff.
Yeah, so we'll see how this all shakes out.
It's the timing of it, as I think we discussed off air, is very interesting.
Yeah, I feel like whoever timed this story's release, which, I'm cynical enough to think like stories like this don't accidentally drop on a Sunday without some thought behind it. And I know that it was filed and this is just when it became public and we're dealing with holiday turnaround, blah, blah, blah. But whoever made the decision of like, hey, let's just move forward with this was either 1000% about that life. Don't care what day. Let's just get this done now. That's likely. But they also were probably thinking like, hey, let's get this out right before people come back from their break. And so this will be the story to talk about. I don't think they're realizing, again, everybody's already wild hard for the wild card as we've been on this show all day.
Facts.
But if you drop this like right after the conference title game when nobody's talking about anything leading up to the Super Bowl and it's like Pro Bowl talk, that's your sweet spot. I want this to come out right when Radio Row or Media Row, like when everybody's in the same venue for the Super Bowl, and then they're hosting their show, and all of a sudden you've got to see the rumblings in the same room about this. Like by then, this will all be blown over.
Well, I agree, but for different reasons, KJ. I think it was a mistake to drop it now because, well, it's Monday. We're talking about it, but what's tomorrow? Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What debuts tomorrow? Don't even answer. You already know. I know you know. The TGL. They're going to get totally cucked by
Not La Brea.
the TGL. Because tomorrow night, KJ, we've got the Bay taking on New York. We got Xander. We got Shane Lowry, Wyndham Clark. We got the big dogs out there hitting into the simulator.
Sincere answer. What is your interest level in the TGL?
I will watch tomorrow.
Sincere question. Until I clicked on this link, somebody please tell me what the TGL stands for and is.
I don't remember what it stands for.
It's the Golf League.
Total Golf League.
Oh,
Total Golf.
I don't
League.
know. I just made it up.
The Golf League. Is that what it stands for?
I think it's the Golf League. Isn't it?
Anyway, it's virtual golf, and for that reason, I'm out.
They're hitting into a it's like 1,500 people, 1,500 seats, little arena.
okay.
You got a huge screen, a world-class, best simulator you could ever get. You got city-based teams, although it's very confusing because I don't think these guys.
Shane Lowry's local team.
A lot of these guys don't have connections to the cities, but I will watch because I'm very curious. I'm just curious. Like I'll support it. Like I'm going to say that this probably is something that doesn't keep me interested, but it's different. I respect them for trying something different. Tiger and Rory going to be doing some analysis. They're heavily invested in this thing. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson own part of the Bay team. You've got some people invested in it. I don't, let's see what it looks like. It's probably going to be pretty cheesy. I'm very curious what the crowd is, how many crisis actors we're going to have in there that are overreacting to shots and stuff. Going to remind me of the Chargers lady. You know what I'm talking about? The little Asian lady who they just weirdly put on TV and she's like, what? They were weirdly, this is like 2 years ago. Does anybody remember that lady? Yeah, that was her. This is This is gonna get my attention tomorrow. It's 15 holes, Dylan. Alt shot.
Why 15?
Alt shot for the first 9, and the last 6 are singles play, baby.
Oh. Yeah,
because the Roman numerals for TGL is 15.
I struggle to watch real golf that isn't a major at this point, and this is going to rank way lower than even just a casual golf tournament on a random weekend. So
Man, y'all are haters, dude.
I don't want to watch people play virtual golf on my screen. I'm sorry.
You play virtual golf on a live stream.
That's different, all right?
Come on.
That's a video game.
Just give him a chance to earn your business.
I just don't think I'm going to.
I'll watch. Hey, I'll watch so you don't have to. How about that?
Let me know how it is. If
will.
it's fire, I might tune into the next one.
I'm gonna be live tweeting it. I tend to. I think some of my best tweets are during golf adjacent things. So I'm gonna be throwing up some shots tomorrow night. All right.
I will give it a shot to earn my business,
All
as
right.
I am in a place that is like overpopulated by golf sim labs. Half of this country and half your state right now is too cold to play golf all year. So if you can play in a sim bay or whatever, like there's some potential here.
Damn. Catch me in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. I'm sorry. I tried to make a joke. The way you said, I don't know. Just delete that. Just delete the whole
Zimbabwe.
goddamn show, Randy.
Okay.
How about
sounds good.
that?
The Saints are targeting Kellen Moore for head coach.
Okay. No Kubiak? Not going to give him that promo? Okay.
I don't know. Don't look at me.
Ooh, he's going to want to call plays. That's putting our guy Coobs in an interesting spot.
I mean, he'll find a job literally anywhere.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Go Horns. Hook 'em.
Hey, I want to give a shout out. I gave the shout out circling back. During the Texas State bowl game, the First Responders Bowl, they show Texas State scores. They show the crowd. There's like 2 women in Bobcat gear, and they're like going crazy. And then one of them's throwing up the eat 'em up, the state of Texas thing. The other one just in full Bobcat throws up the horns. And I'm like, dude,
Let's go.
what are you doing? Like that.
See how
Stop.
convoluted my Dave Ruff fandom was. So it's like, oh yeah, eat them up, and I'm like,
Sick 'em.
sick 'em
You
bears.
sicked them. No, my bear.
Last quick comment. Shout out to all those SEC teams who should have been in the playoff instead of SMU and Indiana for getting their cheeks clapped. Ole Miss not included, obviously.
All first round bye teams take the L.
It's true.
Crazy.
I want to give a sports shout out too. I want to give a special shout out to the Milwaukee Bucks for winning the in-season tournament in NBA. Second one to ever do it. Congrats to the Bucks.
Thanks, Randy.
Hey, we missed it.
We did. I'm glad we circled back to that.
NBA Cup.
Emirates
Thanks.
Cup.
Oh,
It's now the
Sorry,
Emirates.
oh, okay.
The Midwesterners unite. I appreciate that.
Run it back.
Oh, last breaking news in the NBA. Kyrie Irving out 1 to 2 weeks with a bulging disc.
God damn it. This team's in trouble. Okay. Let's run it back.
Run it back, of course, the segment during which we talk about what we already talked about. Inside peanut butter, outside jelly. Ice cream paint job. Dusty Navy sounds like a Dick Saloon bartender.
Yeah.
Yeah. KJ pissed in a trough next to Sal from Philly. KJ really doesn't like Penn State. Dylan started his day by watching Magic Mike. And finally, don't watch virtual golf unless it's Dylan on the Golden Tee machine. That is exciting virtual golf.
Wawa and Sheets both overrated. That was the other knock on this state. It's the best y'all had to offer. I hear it about it all the time. Both trash, both below par.
KJ is in no hurry to get back to Happy Valley. No hurry.
Cream on the outside is where we should have went from that song, but no big deal.
Randy, I told you this morning about the new way we're going to do graphics. Let's just table it for a week.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to – there's just a lot.
What was that?
We were going to try to make Run It Back the graphic, and I'm just like – now I'm thinking, I'm like, God damn, that's so niche. Like so niche.
Yeah.
We'll work on it.
We can add some like actual talking points to it if you'd like for the
Dusty-
for graphic purposes.
Dusty Navy.
Dusty Navy.
I had
A descriptor.
I had to stifle my laughter at the Magic Mike thing because I know that you can't get through an ad read without laughing sometimes.
Hopefully our good friends at Magic Mind won't mind the slip up there.
I think about Magic Mike every time I do a Magic Mind read.
Okay.
Fun fact. So it's not crazy. All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.